to play.
Welcome back to the channel, YouTube. Let me talk to you. So I got myself a 4-day weekend, and what do I do on day one? I binge watch Twisted Metal to bring this review to you guys. So these are my thoughts, these are my commentaries, these are my opinions on Twisted Metal on Peacock. So let's get into the video. So if I had to sum this show up into 3 words, it'll be blood, bullets, and mayhem. And we got that in fulls. From the opening scene in this show, I was hooked. Now, the Easter eggs from the very beginning were affluent. They were everywhere. So if you've seen the show, you're gonna be able to see some of the on-the-nose Easter eggs, and there's gonna be some that are kind of hidden. But if you played the Twisted Metal games in the past, like I have, and are a fan, you will definitely sniff them out, so to speak. But the cast, the soundtrack, the just story itself was really well done for one of the better video game adaptations we've gotten in a long time. And for me, I was a little skeptical about watching this show because I've seen so many bad video game adaptations in the past that have ruined this for me. But shout out to my homie Joe, who taught me into watching this. And if it wasn't for him, I probably would not be doing this video. So I appreciate it, brother. But we have a show that hit the ground running. And I did not think that they were gonna go deep into the violence, the gore. I don't even want to say gore, just because Twisted Metal, like, let's be real, Twisted Metal is a game about people blowing up in cars, right? And I didn't think the show was gonna go heavy into that aspect of the game, but they did. They absolutely did not shy away from blood, bullets, and mayhem. And I am very, very happy that they decided to do it in that manner. And the show was better for it. Now, the only thing that I would say for me before I get deep into it was a negative is the overuse of the green screen, and specifically in the traveling scenes from destination to destination with the cars. And that's about it. The story was pretty cheesy, pretty simple, but what are you expecting from a show about cars and guns and blowing up? That's absolutely pretty much the premise of the show. So I would say this is also probably one of the better adaptations that we've gotten from any video game adaptation in a long time. That's close to what the actual game was. I've been burned by so many game adaptations in the past that it turns me off when I see a new, oh, we're making this game into a movie, we're making this game into a television series, and it doesn't sit well because we haven't been successful in the past. Now we've got Sonic, which was not as close to the game in any way. I would say it's more inspired by, and you have Super Mario Brothers, which was more in tune with what the game offered. And now we have Twisted Metal, which sticks the landing through and through. Now, what you see is what you get, but it's everything else in between that made the show good. The subtle humor, the cast, oh my God, the cast was amazing. There are so many people in this TV show that I didn't even know played. To preface this, I didn't look at the cast outside of just what I saw in the trailers to see who was all in it before I watched it, because like I said, I didn't have any plans on reviewing this show. But I was listening to that Sweet Tooth talking, I'm like, I can't quite figure out who that is. So lo and behold, I went and I looked at the cast, and I found out Sweet Tooth was body doubled by Samoa Joe, who, if you guys are wrestling fans and watch wrestling in the past, you know he's a WWE superstar who is Samoan in heritage, who, you know, had a really good stint in the WWE. And the voice of Sweet Tooth was done by Will Arnett. So that was a interesting treat. And I have to say, the standout was Sweet Tooth. He was done so well. Like, the writers just did not shy away from just being just as ridiculous as they wanted to with this character, and he shined every time he was on screen. He just ate up the scenes. Now, and you've got Anthony Mackie playing John Doe. Now, as far as the characters, there's some changes that we get with some of the characters, and there's some characters who we don't have initially, which by the end of the series, we know it's probably going to get a second season. So there were some hints that we will see more of these characters in the end, but no spoilers. Just watch it and you'll see what I'm talking about. But Anthony Mackie did great as a character. He was a troubled kid who only found solace in Evelyn. I almost said Eleanor because it really reminded me of Nicolas Cage's attachment to Eleanor and Fast and the Furious and Gone in 60 Seconds. God, Fast and the Furious. But Anthony Mackie did a really good job playing that, not necessarily a fish out of the water, but just that naive person through the events of what happened in the show, where he was a kid, don't remember much. All he knows is what was on the outside of the walls. And these subtleties that we know as an audience that are normal, consistent things in our lives, he has never seen. He doesn't know anything about. And it's funny to see him interact and react to those things. And then you have Stephanie Beatrice. She's a hottie. She was pure eye candy through and through. She's not as hot as my honey. Just putting that out there. But Stephanie Beatrice brought a different aspect to the show as far as her character, her being a product of both sides of the story. She was on the inside, she saw how things were, and she's on the outside, and she has a different experience than John. So to see their interaction between the two was pleasant. The banter, the comedy, the fighting, and the other things that happened, it played well into the character dynamic and their growth. And I'm all about character growth, and it was in folds in this show. Even Sweet Tooth, hell, he had character growth. We got a chance to see some of his backstory. Thomas Hayden Church as Agent Stone was absolutely hilarious. There's a lot of different side characters that had their own story, and the show did a really good job at tapping into these other characters, telling simple stories that did overshadow the main arc of the story. Now, with that said, I do highly recommend it, especially if you are a fan of Twisted Metal. The soundtrack had a lot of 80s and 90s, or was it 2000s? Probably 2000s, right? Cypress Hill was played a lot. The premise of the show was centered around a lot of the music from John's interactions with his fights in cars. His music was the solace that put him in the mode, and it worked well. Every single thing with the music worked well, and it played into the story the further you got. There's a lot of characters we didn't get, but we will probably see in the next installment, which I'm pretty sure this is going to get a season 2 because it was done really well. But that's my only caveat, like I said earlier to this, was the green screen usage, but everything else was handled the best way it could have been handled with a budget of this caliber for a show about guns, blood, bullets, and mayhem. With that said, guys, that's it for the video. My name's Lincoln. This has been an RPG show. Until next time, like, comment, sub, and I'm out. Peace.